I already have two obvious heirs in my younger brothers. Although, going on your more recent behaviour, I would not be happy to see either you or Lucian becoming the next Duke of Stourbridge. He gave Sebastian a silencing glower. A glance Sebastian totally ignored. If either Lucian or I were to become the next Duke of Stourbridge, you can depend on it that you would not be around to see it, Hawke. Very amusing, Sebastian. The Duke's dismissal was absolute. But, following the events of last month, I realise I have been somewhat remiss in not settling your own and Lucian's future. Last month? What did Lucian and I do last month that was so different from... Ah, the light finally dawned. Can you possibly be referring to the delectable and recently widowed Countess of Moorfield? He challenged unabashedly. A gentleman does not discuss a lady by name, Sebastian. Hawke eyed his brother disapprovingly. But now that you have brought the incident to my attention, he steepled slender fingers, I could indeed be referring to your reprehensible behaviour concerning a certain lady of our mutual acquaintance. His voice was icy. Sebastian grinned unapologetically. I can assure you that no one, least of all the Countess, took our interests seriously. Hawke looked down the long length of his nose. Nevertheless, the lady's name was bandied about at several clubs, my own included. Many of your friends were making wagers, I believe, on which one of you would be the first to oust the Earl of Witney from the lady's bedchamber. Sebastian looked unrepentant. Only because they were all aware that we were both totally in ignorance of the other's interest in the lady. Of course, if you had cared to confide in either of us that you intended taking up residence in that particular bedchamber, then Lucian and I would simply have backed off and left you and Witney to decide the outcome. He eyed Hawke challengingly. Hawke's wince was pained. Sebastian, I have already had occasion to warn you of the indelicacy of your conversation. So all this talk of the parson's mousetrap is because Lucian and I inadvertently stepped on your toes last month? Sebastian could barely restrain his humour. Or possibly it was another part of your anatomy we intruded upon. Although I do believe, he continued as Hawke looked in danger of delivering another of his icy set-downs, that you have also now tired of the lady's charms. The slight flaring of the Duke's nostrils was the only outward sign of his increasing displeasure with the trend of the conversation. After the attention you and Lucian brought to that unfortunate lady, I deemed it necessary to withdraw my attentions so as not to add further speculation to the impending scandal. If you were not so damned secretive about your mistresses, the whole incident could have been avoided. Sebastian shrugged dismissively. But I do assure you, Hawke, I am not about to marry just to appease your outraged sensibilities. You are being utterly ridiculous, Sebastian. No, Hawke. Sebastian's humour faded. I believe if you were to give this subject more thought, you would realise that you are the one who is being ridiculous in trying to choose my wife for me. On the contrary, Sebastian, it is my belief that I am only acting in your best interests. In fact, I have already accepted an invitation on our behalf from Sir Barnaby and Lady Selby. I take it they are the parents of my intended bride? Hawke's mouth tightened. Olivia Selby is the daughter of Sir Barnaby and Lady Selby, yes. Sebastian gave a derisive shake of his head as he stood up. I am afraid that whatever invitation you have accepted on my behalf you will just have to unaccept. He moved to the library door. What are you doing? The Duke frowned at him darkly. Leaving. Sebastian gave him a pitying look. But before I go, I have a proposition of my own to set before you, Hawke. He paused in the open doorway. A proposition? Hawke found himself so deeply disturbed by his brother's stubbornness that, unusually, he could barely hold his temper in check. Sebastian nodded. Once you are married, happily so, of course, I promise I will give serious attention to the parson's mousetrap.